Welcome to học tiếng Anh với Joseph, where we build vocabulary and practice pronunciation through reading. Continuing with The Cat in the Box, today we will read story number 90. Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ đọc câu chuyện số 90, The Echo of the Big Bang. In 1963, two young researchers, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, joined forces to adapt a radio telescope originally designed to establish the feasibility of global satellite communications for astronomical work. The telescope at Crawford Hill in New Jersey was owned by the Bell Telephone Company, which had a policy of allowing its research teams time for purely scientific projects. Before this team could start making astronomical observations, they had to calibrate the telescope and remove all sources of interference, noise. It was during this process that they unexpectedly made a discovery that would earn them the Nobel Prize. The business end of the telescope incorporated a very sensitive receiver to detect weak radio emissions from objects in space. Astronomers call these signals, but they are not like artificial signals like TV transmissions, just the natural radio emissions produced by astronomical objects such as active galaxies. The strength of these signals is measured in terms of the temperature of equivalent black-body radiation, and the receiver, a radiometer using maser amplifiers, was so sensitive that it could detect radiation as cold as a few degrees on the Kelvin scale, just above minus 460 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 273 degrees Celsius. To calibrate the telescope, it was pointed at the sky at nothing in particular, and the radiometer was switched between the signal coming from the antenna and the signal from the cold load kept at the temperature of just over 4 Kelvin using liquid helium. This showed them how much hotter or colder the antenna signal was than the signal from the cold load. Penzias and Wilson expected the temperature of the sky to be zero, so in this way they could make a calibration and subtract out all the known sources of noise, such as the temperature of the air above the antenna. What was left would be noise due to the antenna itself, which they intended to remove by appropriate techniques, such as polishing the metal to a smooth surface. But no matter how they tried, the team were never able to reduce the noise in the system to zero. They even tried laboriously cleaning out the droppings left in the antenna by nesting pigeons and sticking shiny aluminum tape over all the riveted joints, but to no avail. They were left with what they called an excess antenna temperature of between 2K and 3K, meaning that the radiation coming into the radiometer from the antenna was at least 2K hotter than they could explain. The signal was the same day and night, day after day, and week after week. It corresponds to a very weak hiss of radio noise at microwave frequencies, like the signal from a very cold microwave oven. Throughout 1964, Penzias and Wilson remained baffled, and their whole radio astronomy project hung in the balance. But then news of their predicament reached a team of radio astronomers at nearby Princeton University. They were interested in the possibility that the universe as we know it had emerged from a hot, dense state, the Big Bang, and they had calculated that this event should have filled the universe with electromagnetic radiation that would by now have cooled to a temperature of a few K. Unknown to them, the same prediction had been made in the 1940s by Ralph Alpher and Robert Herman, but had been ignored. The Princeton team were in the process of building a radio telescope to look for this radiation when news of the work at Crawford Hill reached them. When the two teams got together to discuss the discovery, it became clear that the radio noise from space found by Penzias and Wilson might be the echo of the Big Bang. Penzias and Wilson were not entirely convinced, but they were relieved to have any explanation and felt confident enough to publish their results in 1965 in a paper with a cautious title, A Measurement of Access Antenna Temperature at 4080 MC/S, without actually claiming that they were detecting radiation from the birth of the universe, as Wilson put it in his Nobel lecture. The vocabulary section today, we have feasibility, astronomical work, calibrate, sensitive receiver, radiometer, maser amplifiers, baffled, predicament, emergence, relieved, compelling evidence. Thank you so much for your time, and I will see you in story number 91. Next story. Bye for now.